You know when you think you know all about someone, and then they completely surprise you in the best way possible? That's like Etsy. You've probably thought of Etsy as a place for beautifully made items from independent sellers. Etsy is also where you can find an inspiring style selection and home decor for every room. We're not just talking niche stuff here. Etsy has everything from statement pieces like rugs and sofas to daily staples like outerwear and accessories. You can outfit your home and upgrade your wardrobe all in one place. Etsy has it for you, for all budgets, for any occasion. New to Etsy? Use code NEW for 10% off your first purchase. That's code NEW. Maximum discount value of $50. Offer ends June 30th, 2023. See terms at etsy.com/terms. Etsy has it. Shop Etsy.com.
What's the best part of a Dunkin' run? The coffee or the $1 donut? $2 bagel minis or $3 sausage, egg, and cheese you can add to that coffee? Or the fact that you get to leave the office? The answer, of course, is yes. Time for a Dunkin' run. Great deals on food for $1, $2, or $3 with a medium or larger coffee. America runs on Dunkin'. Excludes specialty donuts and fancies. Price and participation may vary. Limited time offer. Terms apply.
The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
This is John Silver, lead recruiter of the Dark Order, and you are listening to All Things Elite.
Welcome, everyone, to the 184th episode of Social Suplex Podcast about AEW with a proclivity for positivity. Welcome to All Things Elite. I am your host, after a very long time, Floyd Johnson, and with me today, because Austin is on assignment covering both the March Madness tournament and high school basketball in his state, is Mr. JR. They call him Jesus Perez. What's up, JR?
You know, it is a beautiful, awesome 316 day. Here we are on the 16th day of March and celebrating it, and it's wonderful. With the arguably the biggest superstar in the history of professional wrestling. So I'm here, and what a lot to unpack on to this week's edition of All Things Elite.
Yes. It's been a while since we recorded. I did not want this to happen, but I was, of course, in San Francisco for Revolution. I have to do better about just recording it right after the show. It's probably going to end up being what I do. Then Austin got sick. Then he was covering basketball, so it's been and I feel like I was gonna say it feels like forever, but it's really I think only been 2 weeks, but it's still been a long time. I hate not doing the show. I even told JR just right before I press record, if we don't do a show this week, it's just might as well end it because we can't do a once monthly show. It's too late to do a Revolution review, but I do want to say I really enjoyed the show. Absolute banger. I had 3 5-star matches in the show. I think Mox and Hangman was my favorite. It was, to me, one of the best live matches I've ever seen. I had it at a 6. I know, don't break the scale, but I did have it at a 6. But yes, very, Very fun pay-per-view. I have seen Bryan Danielson wrestle in more 1-hour matches than I think any other wrestler for me, because I saw him go with Hangman and now MJF, and I believe those are the 2-hour matches in the company. And I've seen both Iron Man matches in the company. I was in Kansas City for Kenny Omega and Pac in the 30-minute Iron Man match, and now I was there for Bryan Danielson and Bryan Danielson and MJF in this Iron Man match to win into overtime. So it went an hour and plus. But yeah, I've had a really good time. I've really been enjoying Dynamite. I am ramping up for WrestleMania weekend. Me and JR will be at Supercard of Honor. So before we leave for Supercard of Honor, we're going to do a little preview to get you ready for that, because I'm going to try to sprinkle in as much ROH as possible, because, it's Tony Khan Productions, you know what I mean, AEW and ROH. So anytime TK is putting on a big show, I'm generally there. Me or JR is there. So it's going to be a good time, but I just kind of wanted to catch you up. I'm losing weight. JR buddy over here has been supportive. Everybody has been. I've been trying not to be. I don't have to try really hard, but when people start losing weight, they start like everybody should lose weight and everybody should eat like them and everybody should be healthy. And it's just like, I hate those people. As a fat person, I hate those people, and I would also hate if I became that person as someone that was not quite as fat, because I'm not skinny by any means. I'm just not quite as fat as I was. So, been really good feelings. Extra space in the airplane. And it's like just different things when you get up for the day and you don't hurt. And it's just weird. It's just weird how you feel. And it's like the last time I lost weight, I don't think I appreciated all of this. But since I am older and my body is creaky, I am definitely appreciating all the good feelings I have. So we got 14 days, with this being 3/16, we got 14 days. On March 30th, we will be in LA. That first thing we're pretty much doing, other than the WrestleMania Superstore, is we're gonna do FTR live, the show FTR with Dax live, with all his guests. He has Cash, of course, Sean Spears, Wardlow, and Will Hobbs are the guests so far for the show. So if you are going to be in LA, make sure you join me and JR there. But I think that's all the catching up we need to do. I just want to remind you to make sure you're downloading this show on Google or Apple Podcasts. Please leave a rating and review. And if you're so inclined, you can follow us at AT Elite Pod or at Social Suplex, at Austin Sumowitz. That's SZUMOWICZ, at Floyd Johnson Jr. on Twitter. And our unofficial third member, the Hulk Hogan of this group, the other guy, is Mr. JR. And how can they follow you, sir?
You can follow me on Twitter at Lucha Professor, and that is at Lucha Professor. And I do tweet sometimes about wrestling, my beloved LA Rams, LA Dodgers, as well as some motivational stuff here and there.
I almost corrected you and said St. Louis Rams. Like, they're not in LA anymore. Oh, well. When your team changes cities so much, it's hard to keep up with.
Hey, don't start. And that's the Alzheimer's kicking in right now.
Yeah, I was like, St. Louis Rams, I was about to. No, it's like, you and the Raiders, those damn LA teams can't stay put. It's like, I'm in LA, I'm in St. Louis, I'm in Oakland, I'm in Vegas. Like, what the hell? I don't know. Kansas City Chiefs, been there. Kansas City, you know what I mean?
Well, unfortunately for you guys, unfortunately for us, we've had like 3 different owners, so that started all this nonsense.
Yes. Oh, we're gonna move. I can't wait for the Salt Lake City Rams. It's gonna be fun.
I'm gonna hang up right now.
Like, they're gonna dominate the West, the Salt Lake City Rams. All right, so yeah, that was the catch up. Big news of the week, like we like to start, is there is a rumor, pretty much, kind of confirmed by everyone, that AEW and Warner Bros. Discovery are finalizing a deal for a third weekly wrestling show. I think the rumored name is Collision, correct, JR?
That sounded like that. I was trying to remember if it was Collision Course or just Collision, but that I read the similar rumor.
I told you not to drink anymore, ever. No.
I didn't do no such thing.
The third it will be an hour, and it's possibly going to be on Saturdays. So I don't even know how I can call this news of the week, because like none of it's confirmed or actually officially announced. But the idea of getting a third weekly show on Warner Brothers Discovery seems like that old their contract renewal for Dynamite seems to be pretty much certain, right?
Oh, I mean, well, first of all, it's not just a Saturday show; it's the OG 6:05 time slot, going back to the days of Jim Cocker Promotions on TBS. That's, to me, is amazing, because I'm a sucker for nostalgia, as everybody knows. But yeah, I mean, you think at the end of the day, professional wrestling is in that weird hybrid of sport and entertainment, and the thing that generates audiences is live television, live sports. So I can completely understand why Warner Brothers would want a third show, and also because of the ratings it does and the coveted demographics it has, and it'd be obviously more affordable than professional sports. So I think it's a big for AEW, and it's a kind of a coup for Warner Brothers to maintain and then now grow to a third show.
If AEW really wants their ratings to grow, you know who they need to sign?
Who?
Jim Parsons. That is Sheldon, for all of you that don't know this.
Sheldon in Big Bang Theory, and he's the narrator, Jim Parsons, narrator of Young Sheldon.
Yeah.
And yeah, he would fit perfectly in with Best Friends.
Sheldon draws, baby. Sheldon draws. He's a draw. No, I'm actually excited about it. I grew up on Saturday wrestling. Before there was Monday, there was Saturday wrestling, 6:05, TBS, the Superstation. Oh my God. Honestly, Cody would be crying if he found that out, Shit, he might just re-sign with AEW if he knew they were going to get a Saturday 6 o'clock show. You know what I mean? That dude loves 6:05. I remember the NWA 70 started at 6:05. You remember that?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's pretty cool. I'm really excited for it. So they do this thing, and Dynamite, to me, every week is the most consistently good show in professional wrestling. Like, there are very few less than good Dynamites. They're so less than few good Dynamites that people go fucking nuts when they have an average show, right?
Oh, absolutely.
It's like when they have an average show, like that would be on the same level as any other wrestling show where it's an average show, it's the Titanic. It's sinking. They're going out of business because they put on a regular show. That is how high the weekly expectations of Dynamite is. So that's good. Now, I want Saturday to be held on that level, because I was promised that Rampage was going to work like a third hour of Dynamite. I mean, if it's the third hour of Dynamite, it's the first hour that nobody watches. You know what I mean? It has not been. I enjoy, Rampage is a wrestling show, but it never feels as important as Dynamite. It feels like the storylines that they don't care about go on Rampage, and it's just occasionally the numbers get too low and they'll throw Moxley on there, or they'll throw this person on there. But it feels like if they said Blackpool Combat Club is a Rampage group, right? And they're only going to be on Rampage. And I don't want this SmackDown Raw thing, but you have to give people a a reason to tune in. Like this week, and this is March 17th on St. Patty's Day, St. Patrick's Day Slam is actually going to be basically preempted to coming on at 10 o'clock or after the NCAA tournament is over, which I completely understand. The NCAA tournament is one of the most watched sports in America. But because of that, JR, let's be honest. Are you staying up and watching the Rampage after the NCAA tournament?
That would be a negative.
I'm going to be asleep 3 hours when the show comes on. Let's be real. I'm going to already have been asleep 3 hours. So the best I'm going to do is watch it on DVR the next day. So that's what I'm like. It's going to have strong DVR numbers. So I don't know. We'll go over the card a little later for that show. But, yeah, we're going to jump into Dynamite. Before we do that, JR, what are your thoughts on the third hour? What do you want to see from the third hour? And this is one of your times. Be long-winded. What do you want to see for this third show that AEW is bringing on Saturday nights?
You know, it's kind of hard for me because I grew up on 605 was a lot different. It was more of a standalone show when WCW Saturday Night compared to what Jim Crockett did back in the 80s with the 605 time slot. At the end of the day, though, Dynamite is your, let's use the alphabet, is your A show. And even though Rampage is your B show, it doesn't mean that it can't be at a quality that's higher than it's at right now. And I know that 10 o'clock time slot really hurts them because it's 10 o'clock on a Friday. That's a really bad time slot. That's honestly where, in my opinion, network television, if they put shows on that time slot, it's like, we expect you to die and we're not going to renew you after season 1. And so it's a tough time slot, but that show doesn't do enough, in my opinion, to build, like, to make you say, hey, I'm here to see Dynamite next week, which was similar to how I felt when wrestling was at its best, was Friday night SmackDown, or excuse me, at that time was Thursday SmackDown, would build towards Monday Raw. And I think that's what Rampage should do. And I also think that's what the 605 time slot on Saturday is like, hey, you actually, in some ways, Rampage could be, that's like the way Rampage should be for that Saturday, where we're going to have maybe one marquee match and we're going to have a few, for lack of a better term, squash matches. But you also want to make sure you do like clips and sound bites about Dynamite. So that way people would be like, oh shit, like I got to turn into Dynamite next week because of what happened last week. That's what I think I want it to be. It's like, you're going to showcase a few talent, but you also need to sell them to make sure they tune into Dynamite on Wednesday.
And that's what I'm like. I want things that happen. I want things to happen on Dynamite to affect what's going to happen on Rampage. And then I want what happened on Rampage to affect what's going to happen on the Saturday show. And I want something to happen on the Saturday show to affect what happens on Dynamite. And vice versa. I mean, you can all get where I'm going. It's just they should feel like a more of a, they live off each other, more organic. It's like you have to watch every show to keep up with it. So that's what I want from the show. But that's enough talk about this hypothetical third show. Let's talk about the real Dynamite that happened this Wednesday, March 15th, live from the home of professional wrestling, Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. I'm talking about, you got Kenny Omega, the god of professional wrestling. You have Chris Jericho, Mr. Don't Miss, and you have one of the greatest managers of all time, Don Callis, all from Winnipeg, Manitoba. 5 stars all around. And this crowd was hot. The crowd was hot. What did you think of the crowd, sir? Canadian crowd.
They were completely into it. And this is one of the things that I tell people a lot. I think us in America, when it comes to the major professional wrestling with WWE and AEW, we're spoiled because it's here in America. So we're pretty much guaranteed we're going to see them for a specific amount of time a year. Other countries, including Canada, they get those shows a lot less frequently. So for them, it's a big deal for to see a show like Dynamite And that's why they're always hot and they stay hot, because of it's like they're appreciating the fact that this show finally came to their city.
Absolutely. I am I was very excited for it. More Canadian shows. We're gonna get them. Believe me, we're gonna get them. We're gonna talk about that later. But we're definitely getting more Canadian shows this year, and hopefully Canada and the crowd is in love. But this first segment, honestly, this was probably my favorite non-wrestling segment in AEW, and I'd say at least a year. So the show opens with the AEW World Champion MJF's re-bar mitzvah celebration. Tony Schiavone is completely crapping on this re-bar mitzvah. He's like, apparently, when he looked it up, you have to be 83 before you can be bar mitzvahed again. But MJF, on his legit birthday, March 15th, 2023, his legit birthday, 27-year-old world champion, probably the youngest world champion in professional wrestling currently, definitely the youngest AEW world champion in history. MJF said, "Cut my music. We're here to celebrate the most important day in recorded history, my birthday. After March 5th, when I tapped out your boy Daniel Bryan to go on to retain the most important championship in pro wrestling, I am no longer a man. I am Iron Man. So it's time to celebrate my rebar mitzvah." As soon as he's about to get started, that music hits. It's Jungle Boy, Jack Perry. So he comes out to the ring. And as Jungle Boy says, and then Sammy Guevara's music hits and begins to play. Sammy walked to the ring to join MJF. And then Sammy says, "Max, oh Max." And then Darby Allin's music became to play. And Darby came to the ring. So we're going to pause right here for me and JR to take our little victory lap. After last week on Rampage, I said, JR, someone was like, who's MJF's next opponent? I was able to tell my good friend JR, because we talk incessantly and way too much, just crazy amounts. I was like, it's going to be MJF and Darby Allin. They're both going to have it. Maybe we get a triple threat at Double or Nothing. So, right before the show starts, I'm talking 6:58 Central Time, 6:55 Central Time, 4:55 Pacific. JR's like, you know what? I got an idea. What if Sammy comes out and they have all four pillars? So he took my idea. He added a little bit. And I was like, man, that would be pretty cool. But I think my idea is going to happen, of course, because I like to be right. We are wrestling fans. But guess what? We both ended up being right. All four pillars are in the ring. Cut it. No. See, you guys are ruining my rebar mitzvah, says MJF. What do you guys want? All three at the same time, and the cutest thing in wrestling history said, we want a championship match. Jungle Boy, I'm not going to go through these individually. Jungle Boy cuts his promo, basically calling Max a piece of crap. Sammy Guevara cuts, honestly, a super babyface promo until he called the Canadian stupid at the end. And he says everything he doesn't like about Max. Now, Darby, I will go into, because this one's kind of controversial. She said, Max, enough. It's my turn. My first day at pro wrestling school, he goes about being the smallest person there. He's like, he doesn't want to change anything about himself. And he says he told Tony Khan there will never be a bidding war for Darby Allin. AEW means a whole lot more than it's ever meant to you. You know what I'm going to do if you don't give me a championship match. I'm going to beat your head in with the skateboard and take you down with the headlock. What that means, well, to clarify, because it's not summarizing here, he basically said, and honestly, I think it's edited because he kind of ran down the company to a point. He talked about all the people from AEW that get online and complain. He basically said, MJF never worked for anything. He holds the company hostage, and it was interesting. And I'm going to stop here, JR. So we kind of heard some shots taken at Dark and Elevation and, other people on the roster here. We got some inside baseball. Do you have any thoughts on this?
Well, a few things. Number one, this is when you and I started following AEW. Even when we were talking to each other back in 2019 with the first Double or Nothing, and you started seeing the show came out, I feel like we knew two things: that guys like Cody and the Young Bucks and Kenny and Pac and Jericho, the more established stars because of their namesakes, whether it was from WWE or New Japan, they were going to be the stars of the show. But the question became is who is going to be the future of this company? And we immediately saw things. We saw MJF and his inner workings in the beginning. We saw Jungle Boy and the stuff that he did with the Inner Circle, with Jurassic Express in the beginning. Sammy Guevara, obviously, with his work. And then we saw Darby between his work that he did with Cody in matches, and then him also being built up during the next year with, the pandemic year of wrestling. And it's like, these are the guys that we think, in our minds before the name of the Four Pillars ever came out, that would be the ones to take the torch from the established stars. And it's like, we keep saying it's going to be in a few years, especially with MJF when within the first year, he got a title shot against Moxley. And it's like, it's too soon. His time will come. Now we're at that point where, okay, hopefully your investments, Tony Khan, that you put into these four guys is going to pay off, because these are supposed to be your next main eventers. And so that's what, for me, that's the first thing I got out of it. Like, this is the next step. This is the 4-year waiting period that had took place that we got to. I think they said the one thing that, excuse me, I'm stammering. I'm sorry, I'm stammering. The thing that got me was with AEW. I think they hit things that the fans already kind of know, because AEW fans are smart fans within the internet wrestling community. So we know that, hey, not everybody watches Dark because they think it's squash matches, which kind of what Jungle Boy alludes to. There was pot shots about fiance situation. We know between MJF with his recent promos with Bryan Danielson and Sammy Guevara's history, people know about it. It's about being real. Darby Allin, why do we like Darby Allin? Because he's an alternative. He's not the type of guy that would go to Connecticut. He is a guy that was born and made for AEW. So I think they were saying real things, and that's what attracts fans to AEW, is that realism and knowing, like, hey, don't treat us as being dumb. We're smart. We know a few things based on what gets out there. So I enjoyed all that, because that's what they needed, in my opinion, to move this forward. So after we get to the end, the next question becomes, we're about 2 and 3 weeks around there from Double or Nothing. How does the shake out with these four men heading towards Las Vegas in the T-Mobile Arena?
Yeah, my whole our thought process is whether it's going to be like, is it going to be, is it going to be end up being a fatal 4-way, or is it just, or is it going to be, what am I trying to think of? Or if it's going to be 1-on-1, or if any of these three people are even getting a title shot at all. I mean, that's the whole thing about Double or Nothing. It's not till the end of May. That's 2.5 months. There's a way he could get rid of these three and be building to another opponent by then. You know what I mean? There's a lot of ways this can go. But MJF's like, I've beaten every one of you in singles competition. You think of this, you deserve a shot at my championship. Nah, I'm going to eat my cake. Thank you. Screw you. Bye. Max was knocked out of the ring. Jungle Boy, I think, took the first shot. Then he got knocked out of the ring right into his cake. I mean, Honestly, it's wrestling. If there's a cake anywhere near the ring in wrestling, someone's going through it. Otherwise, there's no point of having the cake, right, JR?
Absolutely. I don't know if there's ever. We're going back to the 80s when this happened in Mid-South. I don't know any time in wrestling there was a cake that people, maybe Miss Elizabeth and Randy Macho Man Savage wedding is SummerSlam 91. That may have been the only time I think about that a cake wasn't messed with in wrestling.
Okay, so I'm throwing this out there to whoever wins the AEW World title next. May be my prediction, Adam Cole or whoever. After you win the title, bring out several cakes, cut it, and get it to the people in the stands without anyone going through it. Just completely crap on the idea that every time there's a cake, somebody has to go through it. That would be amazing. And you know what would be even more amazing, JR?
What's that?
If I'm there to get a piece of that cake.
I like it.
Because I like cake. I mean, it's actually my weakness. I am not Superman, but it is very much my kryptonite. Trios match. Next up, Hangman Adam Page in the Dark Order, which is Evil Uno and Stu Grayson, who was, from what I understand, not fully signed to AEW at the time. He was on a per appearance basis, but we did get some good news tonight after this match. And they were wrestling the Blackpool Combat Club, combination of Jon Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, and ROH Pure Champion Wheeler Yuta. So I'm just going to skip to the end because I'm not going through all of the match. BCC is isolated to Grayson, and then Moxley tapped out Grayson with the Bulldog choke. Moxley held on to the choke after the match. Evil Uno jumped into the ring to come to his friend's aid, and the BCC triple teamed him. John Silver and Alex Reynolds ran down to the ring, and the BCC retreated through the crowd. What did you think of this match, sir?
I enjoyed it. You know, I said this a month ago about Evil Uno, but we knew for a while Super Smash Bros. Had a name for being the best tag team in wrestling before the Young Bucks. And so, finally, getting a chance to see them, and I don't think we got their full potential in the beginning of AEW because it just didn't feel like we were getting the best of them. But when you're seeing the way this match was developing with Moxley and Wheeler and Claudio, it was like, yeah, these guys are pretty fucking good. I mean, let's be real. And it's good to see them being able to open up. And a lot of people are saying like they need to be in the mix for the tag team division. We don't know where it goes from here because for so long, while we've loved the Dark Order, they've always kind of been treated like the B squad and like propelling Hangman Adam Page for over a year and not being seen as serious contenders. And I hope, and let's see where it comes from that after this match.
Yeah, that's I love this match. Super physical. Evil Uno with his shirt open and fighting. He kind of, he has a tough guy vibe. He really is. I think I've seen him really shining in this type of match, in this style, this physical, just beat the crap out of you style, and it was fun. Blackpool Combat Club, who was mostly tweeners, they are full on heels now. There is no doubt about it. Beating up people without the match, they are full on heels. I think this is very natural progression for where they were. They've taken some big losses. They done got a little angry. So yeah. I have been of the opinion when Bryan Danielson last week was talking about going home. I was like, it wasn't to Ring of Honor like a lot of people speculated. I think it's going home to the Blackpool Combat Club. So I think Danielson will be back sooner rather than later. We will see. But looking forward to seeing how this shakes up. Next match, we get a big moment. We get Jade Cargill, and she's going to be wrestling a Canadian challenger. And it turns out to be Canadian legend something world champion in Canada. I just don't care. It was Nicole Matthews. I think I've seen her on Dark or whatever. I don't know. I've seen Nicole Matthews. I've heard of her name. I can't say I know anything about her, but she was Jade's challenger. As you might expect, Jade won the match in like a minute and a half, which was like very disappointing. I'm like, me and JR is like, they were building up this Canadian person and this is what we got? And then Renee Paquette got in the ring. And just like with FTR, we knew at that point what was about to go down. Jade's like, this is all Canada has to offer. She's like, Renee, you're from Canada, right? And she backs her up in the corner, grabs the mic, starts talking some crap, and then music hits that I'm not really familiar with, but when the name pops up on the screen, Taya Valkyrie. Okay. And she comes out to the ring. Taya Valkyrie announced the signing with AEW. She gets in Jade's face. She's wearing some boots, so she's like as tall as Jade. It's kind of cool. And Jade just dismisses her and go out the ring. Layla Gray tries to attack Taya. Then she gets, what does Taya call that move? But it's, what does Jade call the move? Why is my brain frying right now? The Glam Slam. I know it's called the Glam Slam. What does Jade call the move, sir?
I legitimately don't know.
Well, she does Jade's move, which is also Taya's move, on Layla Gray. And Jade looks like she's about to get in a fight because someone just told her move. And, it's Jaded. That's what the move is called, Jaded. She hits her with Jaded, but I believe Taya Valkyrie does the same move as her.
Her move is called the Road to Valhalla.
Yeah, but it's the same move, right?
Yes.
Okay. So she hits the Road to Valhalla on Layla Gray. And, so AEW signs Taya Valkyrie. Taya Valkyrie is the secret Canadian. What do you think? Just give me a whole idea of what you think about this segment.
Well, Nicole Matthews, from my understanding, she is a Shimmer. Shimmer is one of the big women's promotions, I believe, here in America, veteran. So there were people I was like, I wanted more information. They popped when they saw her. And that she's been wrestling for a while. She was listed as a 4-time Elite Canadian Championship Wrestling Women's Champion, Elite Canadian Championship Wrestling Women's Champion, 4-time. And, and she got, obviously, you said squashed, and that led to Taya. And I know going into the week, we kept hearing, I want to see Canada's best. And people were saying, it's, Taya Valkyrie. Maybe it's LuFisto, who's a legend on the independent scene and a tough as nails wrestler. And I think we even said the Bunny, because the Bunny's also from Canada. So the good thing is that I'm glad it wasn't Taya, because Taya isn't somebody who just shouldn't just get a loss and then moved on from. I've enjoyed Taya's work for a while. She's a badass. She's no nonsense, tough, gritty, had a great runs in AAA. I first saw her in Lucha Underground because she was working with AAA at the time that was putting on Lucha Underground. She, runs an Impact. Unfortunately, did not work well with WWE, but I think she's just an amazing talent and is a big, strong woman that can go up against Jade and wrestle. And I hope that, they do, this leads to a match at Double or Nothing. Because, we keep talking about, I think at this point, who's going to defeat Jade, but whoever defeats Jade is going to be a star, because Jade's over and you're going to be the one in whatever and when it is at the time that happens.
Yeah, I think, I am of the opinion Taya should be the person. I don't know, maybe she loses to her first and then comes back and gets the win. They should do something to make a change, but I think Taya or Chris Statlander. Chris Statlander was a long thought. It should be one of those two. I've enjoyed Jade's run. I think Jade is the most impressive looking wrestler there is, period. Just like her look is one of one. you'd be like, oh, Jade looks like there is no comparison. So I'm very much looking forward to this. But at this point, those undefeated streaks can kind of become an albatross, and then there's no right way to end it. So I hope, you want to kind of get rid of the undefeated streak and move on from that and let her evolve more outside of the streak. Taya coming out. I am probably going to be the only one you hear with this opinion. She looked like a geek. Like, if you've never seen Taya come out, she comes out to this music you've never heard of, and she's like mouthing along to the words to her song and kind of dancing and stuff. And I'm just like, it did, like, when Taya Valkyrie comes out in Impact, when she came out when she made her appearance on NXT, and these are me when she comes out and she has the feathers and she's in the costume and it's just this big moment and you like, oh my God, that's a star, right? That's someone that can beat the top champion in my company. Do you know the moments I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
And she just, like, when she was her name in WWE or Impact, she just comes out and she has the feathers and she's doing the thing. She has her whole presentation. And he's like, that chick's going to be a champion, right? I'm saying, first time coming in, it's like this chick comes out, this music you've never heard of, says Taya Valkyrie. Some people never heard of her, right? And then it's like, oh, she's singing along to her song that no one knows, right? She's the only one singing it. No one knows, right? And it's just like, she kind of looked like a geek. It's like, can it be repaired? Absolutely. But I'm just saying, first impression, I think it was kind of rough. What do you think of my opinion on that, sir?
I think that's your opinion and you're entitled to it.
You don't agree with it, of course, right?
Taya's always had this kind of swagger about her that's kind of, for lack of a better word, kind of like Hollywood-ish. I know what you're saying. I don't think it affected her. I think also because people popped that Taya showed up in AEW. So, and I think they want to see her succeed because of how hardworking she is. So, like I said, I know what you're saying. I don't agree with it.
No, and that's fine. Like I said, that's why I prefaced it. Well, I'm probably the only one that thought that when I saw it. I just didn't feel like we were getting the full Taya Valkyrie presentation. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So whatever. Yes. That is Floyd's lame ass opinion of the week. I will come back with at least one more every week. In the next segment, we have Tony Schiavone interviewing absolute Ricky Starks in the back. Starks says, Juice Robinson, what have you ever done? Come on, bring it anytime, any place. That was the synopsis. He did make fun of the Bullet Club. He's like, I keep getting in fights with gangs and groups. He said, maybe I'm a little slow. Ricky's really good at the promo. What do you think about the potential? What did you think about the segment? What do you think about a potential Ricky Starks versus Juice Robinson feud?
I like, Juice Robinson. I used the term earlier. It's true. Like, since he's always had a charismatic demeanor about him that's very unique and quirky in his own way that works for him. And then even switching to a heel rock hard, he's still able to do that. Ricky Starks, tons of charisma. I just enjoy what he says. I think this is a good one, and I'm trying to be unbiased as much as possible. I enjoy both their works. I enjoyed Juice Robinson's work within New Japan when he was in Ring of Honor, and I enjoyed Ricky Starks' work since he was in NWA. And I think they're both charismatic. They both, I think mesh well together in the sense of the ability to have a feud or rivalry. I think it's one of those things where both these guys are in the mid card area, and trying to shoot towards the upper echelon of that inside, getting into a main event slot. I mean, this is something that if one of them had a belt, you would say, oh, this could be a main event battle of the belts. It's something that you could gear towards being. You want to talk about, renovating Rampage and making scene, can't miss, this would be a match that you should put on Rampage so people tune in and watch it.
Absolutely. That would be really cool. I am excited for this match. Since Juice Robinson left WWE years ago, I mean, honestly, I think Cody and Juice were pretty close. I think Juice left before Cody, right? Because Juice went back into the dojo. He cut his hair. I don't think he cut his hair, but he did the whole dojo thing in New Japan. He really learned how to work differently. And, I'm more impressed with him every time that I see him wrestle. I like heel, new attitude Juice the best. He was flamboyant, but I like this, angrier Juice. And I like that he just, picked Ricky Starks. If there's a fifth pillar, on the men's side, you would have to assume it's Ricky Starks. They named the pillars before Ricky Starks got signed there, and it was just I think he is just as hot as any of those 5 stars. So I am looking forward to what they do with this. How does the Bullet Club work in it? Do we get Finn Juice? Do we get more Bullet Club crossover? Do we get people in AEW joining the Bullet Club? Which would be like Juice's version of the Bullet Club, which I think would be interesting. It's a lot of stuff, a lot of possibilities going with this feud, but when they do have a match, it's going to be really good. So that's the most important part. Then we get the debut of QTV with TNT champion Powerhouse Hobbs and QT Marshall. Footage was shown of Aaron Solo breaking into Wardlow's car and stealing the championship. QT was the one that orchestrated the whole break-in, and Will Hobbs got up and said that welcome to Will's era, their bitch, to Wardlow. And one of the and I don't mean this in a negative way. Most people know that I do watch both companies pretty religiously, so I don't mean, but this was a very WWE-ish segment. Do you agree with that?
I believe this is what somebody does to try to attract a certain crowd, which is what WWE does. And so I think people like Will Hobbs. I know people love Will Hobbs. I don't think they like this. And if they said they did it, I think they're lying. Because this is the thing, in my opinion, what people love about AEW that AEW doesn't do is stuff like this. But I was prefaced by saying this. I didn't think they would like the whole MJF Jericho medium rare steak bit, and they seem to think it was the greatest thing ever. So what do I know?
I thought this segment was truly funny. It was a spoof, or I wouldn't call it a spoof because they weren't the only one making fun of it, but it was a play on what's that TV show that comes? What's it called? It's got the really popular site where they drop
TMZ.
TMZ. It was a play on the TMZ TV show.
Yes, and
then shout out to Harley Cameron, fan. I'm a fan. That's all I gotta say. 2 thumbs up from old Floyd over here, and they just had the setup there, and Aaron Solo's on TV, and apparently RJ City was in the back. Did you see that?
No, I did not see that.
I'm just saying. I'm gonna tell you. In my just Floyd's world, if Harley Cameron's in the screen, I'm not seeing what's behind her. Just gonna say that. I didn't see anything other, and then Will was looking menacing as possible. I like Will with this group. I think he can talk himself, but I think Will is of the Brock Lesnar, the Bobby Lashley, that type of presentation, that his presentation is much stronger when he has a manager. Your opinion?
Oh, no, I do agree on that. I think he is somebody who can get over without needing to have a promo, just stand there, especially because it has great facial features. The one thing I will say, and this is I kind of have to give onus to Dax with his podcast for bringing this up. There is something to be said, though, for giving them opportunities to speak and do things like this, because it allows them to show that they're more than just a specific talent. So why I think I wouldn't want Will Hobbs to do things like this. At the same time, I think it's potentially part of his growth. And it took 20 years to get there. But I mean, you see the same thing with Brock Lesnar. He was taken serious for so long because of his background, and now he's kind of doing comedic stuff. So I can also see the justification for trying to do stuff like this with Will Hobbs.
All right, next up we had the newly AEW International Championship match. Orange Cassidy comes out. He grabs the new belt. He puts it in the bag. He takes the whole belt out and he puts it on the stand, and then he hands it to the referee. I mean, come on, dude. I think there are a lot of people that really, really understand who their character is. I'm talking Cody Rhodes and his American Nightmare, Roman Reigns and his God mode right now, Bryan Danielson at all times of every point in his career, The Undertaker. I put Orange Cassidy on that level of understanding his character. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's he doesn't do anything his character wouldn't do. Everything. This is what his character does. He doesn't care about a lot, but he cares about this belt. So he's like, oh, I'm going to put that now. It just goes in the bag. I don't care about this old belt. This is my belt now. And then he goes in with Jeff Jarrett. And let me tell you, every week they book Jeff Jarrett. Every week I read 100 people, 200 people oh, I don't want to see Jeff Jarrett wrestle. Every time Jeff Jarrett wrestles, at the end of the match, everybody's like, man, that was a good match. Man, that was a fun match. Man, I really enjoyed that match. I hate to say it, but it was a fun match. Jeff Jarrett did it again, right?
Jeff Jarrett, at the end of the day, whether people want to deny it or not, and I know he is a professional wrestler's wrestler. He's been around since the 80s. He, in my opinion, and you and I kind of broke this down, he is Rey Mysterio for Americans, because he came from that family background where his father was involved in the wrestling business, started at such a young age. I think you and I did the math that it was in his teens. By the time he got to NWA TNA in 2002, he was in his mid 30s. He'd been wrestling for at least 15 years by that point.
Yeah, and people talk about him like he was burying people. But dude, according to wrestlers, he was in his wrestling prime. He wasn't supposed to be losing at that time. But he had been on the top so long, in that, almost at that level, WCW champion, everything. It felt like he was 52 years old. But he's now just turning that age. The dude's the youngest old guy in history. So it's kind of crazy when you think about it like that. I just thought I heard a beep or something that went on. If you heard me just stop talking for a minute, it was something happened outside. Maybe I got too excited on what I was doing or whatever. But back to that. So there was a lot of interference. There's a lot of interference. I couldn't even go through all the interference. Everybody in Jarrett's crew, Satnam Singh, Satnam Singh, Sanjay Dutt, Jay Lethal with the fake arm sling hitting Orange Cassidy with the trophy. Then you had Trent come out. Chucky T did not come out because Chucky T had emergency dental surgery. So he was not in Canada. His face was all wrapped up and swollen from emergency dental surgery. So unfortunately, in this case, when I always say faces have no friends, Face just didn't have a healthy friend at this case. So, in the end, Orange Cassidy hit Jeff Jarrett with the orange punch and pinned him with the AEW All-Atlantic title retired. Orange Cassidy becomes the first AEW International Champion. Again, there is no other way I can describe that match other than fun. It was it had no business being as entertaining as it was, right?
Yeah, it's one of those things where I think people see Orange Cassidy and it's this guy's a goof. But then you remember he can wrestle, and he has somebody in Jarrett who's a great wrestler, and their styles, complement one another, because you need because Jeff Jarrett is a sniveling heel, And so that works with what Orange Cassidy does to get underneath the skin, and just the way, the dynamic works out. And Sanjay Dutt, people give him shit, but what he does as a manager is also brilliant. You have Singh as the hitman, essentially, the hired bodyguard. So that works as well. And I wanted to also say this about Jeff Jarrett, because you brought it up. Everybody's like, I don't want to see Jeff Jarrett wrestler. I'm gonna tell you what, if you don't want to see Jeff Jarrett wrestle, quit saying thank God he beat that Orange Cassidy beat Jeff Jarrett, or thank God this, because what he's doing, he's eliciting a reaction to you. That's not telling people you don't want to see them wrestle. That's them saying, I'm tired of you. I want to see you get your ass kicked so I don't see you again. And then when he comes back, you want to see the next guy kick his ass. That guy doesn't have heat in the sense of like, go away heat. He gets heat because you want to see him get his ass kicked. And that works. And that's why he keeps getting put in these situations.
I mean, yeah, it's like the idea that, being able to get booed, being able to be hated on, that is Jeff Jarrett's good at drawing heat. That's what he's doing. He mean old school heat, not like go away heat or I hate, like this is stupid heat. Just fun.
And think about everybody he's wrestled, from whether it was Jerry Lawler in Memphis to Razor Ramon, aka Late Scott Hall, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels in WWF, to WCW, whether it was everybody from Diamond Dallas Page to Sting to Flair and everybody in between, through TNA with everybody from Samoa Joe and AJ Styles in that company, and then to now where he's at today. So he's wrestled so many people who have had so many different styles. That's what also makes him be the worker that he is in AEW, because he could adapt to anybody, whether it was Darby Allin and Sting or it's Orange Cassidy.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, it's like Jeff Jarrett. I was like, when he started wrestling, I was like, I groaned. I was one of the groaners. I was like, I don't know why we're doing this. I don't know why this is going on, and now I do know why this is going on, because he's very entertaining. And it's like when you got a 2-hour TV show to get on, the match that they had is the type of match you need to have. Next, we had a in-ring segment with the Outcasts, Ruby Soho, Tony Storm, and Saraya. Saraya got in trouble. She said twat on national TV, sir. She said twat.
Yeah, that's a bad girl. They can get an FCC fine.
Yeah, you're not allowed to say twat on national TV. You can't say twat on this podcast, but you cannot say twat on national TV. That's how you get fined. But in this segment, it was the standard statement of us taking over promo, correct?
Well, then you also add in the fact that you basically called out every single online Mark, Neckbeard, and everybody under the sun that has given her shit for the last so many years. So that too.
I mean, yeah. So, yeah. And I mean, even Tony Storm said, listen, fat people. I'm like, I love it. Old school heel. Love it. She's like, no one appreciated him. I mean, they actually, Tony Storm and Ruby Soho and Saraya pretty much had the same kind of experience when they came in. They came in, everybody loved them. Ruby won the Battle Royal, everyone loved her. And I don't feel like the crowd actually turned on her, but she did just become another person. Saraya, they turned on. Tony Storm, they turned on. It was like, you're not our people. We don't want you. You are, in essence, outcasts. So this is one of the most organic storylines in wrestling. This was like, I think Saraya was going to be like Punk. I think she was going to be the women's champion. I think they were ready to get behind her, right?
Well, I think that with Ruby Riott and Tony Storm is different than Saraya. I think what happened with them is they came into fanfare, and I think people expected them to quickly like be the one to defeat Jade Cargill for one, or that they were going to get the belt, essentially. We ended up seeing Tony Storm, but Tony's reign as interim AEW Women's Champion was just very like just weird and chaotic. Like it wasn't as smooth as and successful as I think people wanted to be. Saraya got the heat because of of her basically saying, "This is my house. I built this thing." And Britt Baker, the beloved Britt Baker, first woman ever signed by AEW, says, "Nah, wait a minute, mofo. Like, I built this place. I was number one, not you." And that's where they got crossed with Saraya, and that's how it worked out. I rambled and I forgot your question that you would ask.
I forgot my question I didn't ask too. But I think you answered it at some point in there. But to wrap up the segment, Jamie and Britt came down. They got beat up. Shockingly, 2 people run down to fight 3, and the 3 people win. I'm shocked by this. While they're getting spray painted, music hits, and it's Rio, Sky Blue, and Willow Nightingale sprint down to the ring, and the Outcast, like the heels they are, retreated. So I thought this was a successful segment. I thought it was a segment that kind of, like the women's division needed. They are establishing an actual feud. I'm looking forward to what goes on next. Then main event time, AEW World Trios Championship match. We got the House of Black with Buddy Matthews, Malachi Black, and Brody King versus the Elite, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, and the Young Bucks, Nick Jackson and Matt Jackson, versus the Jericho Appreciation Society, Winnipeg's own Chris Jericho, Daniel Garcia, and Sammy Guevara. Now, I was talking to my friend Jason. Some of y'all might heard of this name before. Well, Jason said today, he's like, man, let me tell you something about the House of Black. You look at them. Brody King, monster. Like Buddy Matthews, jacked is out of the gills. And then Malachi Black, right? And he's like, I don't see how you can even buy them losing to any of these other 2 teams. Now, I will tell you, Jason is very much a casual fan. Jason is when the NCAA tournament's on or whatever, Jason's not watching. He's got other stuff. So when I say this is a casual fan, this guy says this. And I even made the comment, it looked like Brody King could eat the Elite and Jericho Appreciation Society by himself and still have room in his stomach. But yeah, it was just funny that's the visual that he got from this match. 3 amazing tag teams here. We get, let's get to the end. Brody rammed Daniel and Sammy with cannonball sentinels in the corner turnbuckle. The House of Black swarmed Jericho. They spiked Jericho with Dante's Inferno. Brody covered Jericho for the pin attempt. Omega broke it up. Jericho grabbed a baseball bat and cracked Brody in the face with it while the ref was distracted. Malachi Black smacked Jericho with a back heel kick. The House of Black finished off Garcia with Dante's Inferno and pinned him. So the House of Black wins this triple threat trios match. Now, I will say this. I'm going to say my bit first. I like this match. It was fun, but it was a lot to keep up with for me personally. The triple threat trios match might be 9 people in the ring wrestling or somewhere around. I think it might be a little much for me. I think I've never been really a trios fan until AEW came along and showed me how to do it right. But a triple threat trios, I think that's a little much for me. So, while I enjoyed the match and it was fun, it just if it was a bit overwhelming for me, even as a wrestling fan of however many years, it was a little overwhelming with the amount of stuff that was going on. Your thoughts, JR?
Yeah, essentially the hard part is that with the style of the Young Bucks and Kenny and the style that Sammy Guevara could bring into it and the unorthodox styles of Malachi, what essentially happens is you could have potentially four maybe even 5 different like situations where something's going on with everybody. You know, if you think about if everybody kind of pairs off, that's 4 fights at once. So and then like it's just a lot, especially because of the action pack of it. And it's, you know, it's very hard to try to, like, you're excited and you're pumped because you're seeing crazy stuff, but then it's kind of also hard to digest of all of it at once. But I will also say, and I was thinking about this, and we use the term a lot, pay-per-view quality, you know, television. But when you, this is kind of like the listening to old school wrestlers, when you go into a town, and I'm going to kind of take what they said and twist and turn it, and for this purpose, this is the first time that you can make a statement, and you want to put something out there. People go, holy crap, that was amazing. You know what? Next time they come into my town, I want to make sure I'm there. And then that way that the house is bigger for the next trip, and the gate revenue is bigger for the next trip. And I think that's what this match was for. Because if you think about it, you essentially, you used 2 potential feuds and you put them in for, we'll use like the insider term, hot shotted, to get this one trios match for Winnipeg. But it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, but they plan on coming back, and they hope with the presentation of Jericho and Kenny, their hometown heroes, as well as the presentation of a talent like the House of Black, that the next time they come in, it's like, you know what, whatever the house is right now, we'll do 20% more next time. And I think that was the significance of this match.
Yes, that was it was, like I said, it was a fun match. It was an entertaining match. Don't get me wrong. I don't know if I could grade it because I don't think I know everything that actually happened. Then what am I going to see? Oh, yes. So how the show ended. The Dark Order and Adam Page and the Blackpool Combat Club brawls from the back all the way to the ring. The Blackpool Combat Club had Hangman outnumbered in the ring until the Elite jumped in. And as the show was going off, Hangman sees he's in the ring, and the Blackpool Combat Club is joining in. And then all of a sudden, Kenny Omega and the Elite are behind Hangman, and he doesn't know why the Blackpool Combat Club is backing off. And as he's about to turn around, the show goes off the air. And that was actually brilliantly done. I thought that was great, a great cliffhanger. What did you think?
Just a little bit longer on the cliffhanger, because we got, just about 4 seconds longer, because I feel like as Hangman was turning his head, it went off the air. Like
that's what I wanted. I don't want us to see who Hangman saw yet. That's what makes it a cliffhanger. Once you see it, once he turns around and sees it, it's not a cliffhanger.
It's not him looking at him. It's what happens after he looks at him is what the cliffhanger you're waiting for.
Okay.
Because he sees them. Because he does see them, but it's just enough for him to realize, oh, you realize he sees them, and then it's gone. And then you're like, oh, that is the stuff you do, so that way they make sure they turn in to next. And I think, that turns it into next week. But your mind's playing a million miles an hour with the way the show is. Like, oh my God, wait a minute, what's going to happen? Hangman's going to join the Elite, but wait a minute, are they done with Jericho? However, how's this work? Because Hangman's kind of feuding with the Blackpool Combat Club. What about Dark Order? Like, there is so much to digest with the way that this ended.
Yes, it was a crazy episode of Dynamite, fun. I told my friend, again, not an insult, WWE-ish episode. There was a lot of story, promos, a lot of interference. It was just, it was a lot building to what's next instead of, developing inside the show. It was a lot of what's next. I mean, like MJF, he either set the table for a fatal 4-way at Double or Nothing, or he set up his next 3 opponents, right? Either way it goes. That's what we could be dealing with. You get Taya Valkyrie sets up a rivalry with Jade. That sets that up. We get the further storyline of the outcast. We get these are the three main people. This is going to be the group this is going to be the group. They weren't trying to add anyone or anything. Then you got the teaser of the Elite versus the Blackpool Combat Club, which some people have speculated could end in the blood and guts. Also, I will say this. Shout out to Stu Grayson. He was re-signed by AEW. But if I was booked the way the Dark Order is being booked and the role that they're playing in this storyline with Hangman, I would ask for my release. Because they are literally being booked as the friends that aren't good enough. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I said this earlier, if we go back to it. Dark Order came in, Double or Nothing 2019. It wasn't, I think, what they had in mind. The matches really didn't help. And they kept saying, just wait for the Exalted One, wait for the Exalted One. Brody Lee comes, Brody Lee takes over. There's more excitement about them being the heels. Obviously, with the unfortunate passing of Brody Lee, they become sympathetic baby faces. And people wanted to get behind the Dark Order. But one of the things that I've always said, whether people want to admit this or not, yeah, people like underdogs, but they want those underdogs to win. They just don't want them to be underdogs and lose in the championship. And you brought this up, is that, man, like they could have made them bigger, but in 2021 before All Out, when they did that 5-on-5 and built up that 5-on-5 Bullet Club, versus Dark Order and Hangman, and they lost, it was like, oh my God, my heart's crushed. I can't believe they lost. And they just never got the momentum back from that. And now that they're smaller because they've lost, they just got Stu Grayson back, but they lost Cole Cabana. They lost Alan Angels. So you have your four, but you're not doing a whole lot with them. And that's why people, like I said, after a while, it's like, I'll support the underdog, but eventually I want the underdog to win. And when they don't, I think you're in the situation where it's like, yeah, we still like the Dark Order, but I think it's still, and I don't care what anybody says. It's just, I think it's true. It's a sympathetic love. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But if I ask you, hey, it's your choice. Do you want to see Blackpool Combat Club versus Dark Order? Or do you want to see Blackpool Combat Club versus the Elite? I bet I asked 1,000 fans at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, and they would say, all 1,000 would say, yes, I'd rather see Elite versus Blackpool Combat Club.
I mean, it's true, but I'm just saying they're elite. They're literally being booked as the team that can't hang. They're a part of the story.
But this has been the case since 2021, though.
Yeah, and that's bad. That's why I said I would ask for my release. Are you not? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you're saying. So yes, I mean, it's a long-winded way of saying I agree with you, and I just say, and this is why I agree with you.
Yeah, Stu instead of asking for his release, he said, "Sign me up for more. I can't wait to lose again." Yeah, baby. No, it's just like. Oh, my God. I like John Silver, and I like Alex Reynolds, and I think they put on really entertaining matches. And it's just like, but yeah, how do you support the Dark Order? Because they're going to lose. They haven't won any of their feuds. They go from feud to feud to feud, taking L to L to L. That's all they do. And this whole thing with the Blackpool Combat Club is literally them getting beat up week after week after week. And Evil Uno's like, we will have your back. We're tough enough to have your back. And then they get their ass whooped again. And it's just like, so Hangman's like, hey guys, I know you've had my back. And when I was at my down part, you were there for me. And when I won my title, you came out and celebrated with me and you loved me. But my other friends are called the Elite. So they're better than you, so I'm going to go with them now. Hangman's a terrible person. Boom. So stay there and get your ass whooped with your other friends.
It's one of those things where the way it plays out, it's like, man, my first love left me, and I found this new one in the meantime. But man, that first one comes calling, you go pedaling back.
They need Dark Order. I think Dark Order needs to turn on Hangman. That's the only way to save face. But if he literally just picks the Elite over them, what are we doing here? Literally retire, because you've been buried that hard. Like there's certain things as far as when you're in wrestling that you almost can't come back from, right? I thought it was 3MB with Jinder, I was like Jinder, Drew, and they're never going to come back from them. They all went away, kind of reinvented themselves. Jinder and Drew came back and won the world title. But Dark Order is reaching that point where it's going to need to go away and then come back for anyone to take them serious because they've been booked so terribly. I mean, they're on TV. Don't get me wrong. That's your goal, but it's just like, I guess someone has to take the L's, right? Someone has to lose.
Someone has to take the pinfalls and submissions.
Someone has to lose. So if I say they're a jobber faction, using wrestling, using wrestling logo, and I say lingo, and say they're a jobber faction, I don't want anybody to get mad at me.
Hey, listen. That I mean, I love him, but Daniel Garcia was the jobber in that trios match because someone had to get pinned. It couldn't have been the Elite because of the way this feud was going to. Jericho wasn't going to take that pin, and it couldn't have been Sammy Guevara because he's in a position where he's going to be potentially in the main event at Double or Nothing.
Daniel Garcia was literally the only person in that ring that could take the pin. Like, if you're actually paying attention, if you watch the show's storyline, Daniel Garcia was the only person in that match that could lose. So, no, never mind. It was just like I was watching it, and I was like, God dang it. I was like, I'm watching the Dark Order, and I feel bad for them. And I'm like, they're on TV, they're getting used, and, there's a lot of people that aren't on TV and getting used. They're on TV and getting used, and that way I'm happy for them. But I'm also sad for them because how they're being used. I don't know. Whatever. That was Dynamite. Another banger episode. Great episode. I've kind of heard a lot of positive about it. And of course you get that little, that whisper of negative out there that some people didn't like the episode. It was not a traditional Dynamite. It was not a traditional good Dynamite episode. This episode was about building stories for later. You know what I mean? So it's like you got to have these episodes in the TV show. I don't know if it's called tentpole. I don't know the correct terminology, but this, you can almost call it like an umbrella episode because it spread out so many storylines that are now going to be the foundation of every show going up to Double or Nothing. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. So the term tentpole is
I think that was the wrong word for it.
Yeah, Double or Nothing. Temple pay-per-views is Double or Nothing Full Gear. There's four major. It's something significant. Everything is leading up towards Double or Nothing because even though it's 2 months away, you're still building towards that pay-per-view, and you got to tell a story every single show to help lead that to the next chapter. I think also, there are some right now. AEW is kind of in I know people don't pay attention to it. They're kind of in a little bit of a rating slump, and a lot has to do with that. What's going on television wise. For example, last night was the ending of the first four of the NCAA national tournament. So you kind of know, hey, we're in sometimes situations where the other things are going on that's going to take away from the show. So you have to be strategic. WWE does it all the time when they look at things like Monday Night Football matches, when they have the NCAA National Football Championship, about how to be strategic. So I'm sure Tony Khan does the same thing. It's just, I think right now, it's like a very weird time because they're moving forward. They're putting out some good stuff, but sometimes some things are not really hidden. So I think hopefully it's one of those things you hope to pick up each week before it heads towards the pay-per-view. Yeah, they just, they set out, I was trying to Google really quick what you were talking, or what I was talking about, but I don't know if there's a name for it. But this was called like a multi-narrative episode. It just set so many different narratives for what's going to lead into either Double or Nothing. I imagine the Long Island episode is going to be a big one because that's where MJF is from.
So we're going to have a lot of stuff coming up I'm looking forward to. Hopefully we get FTR next week. But, or soon, but next week. Or soon, but I really want it to be next week. All right, so that was it for Dynamite Review. The preview for AEW Rampage from Manitoba, we got Will Hobbs put out an open challenge. It was answered by Ray Phoenix. Then we're going to have 2.0, Dad and Magic, Matt Menard, and Angelo Parker. Smooth Hand Ange against the Bollywood Boys. They're from Canada also. Then we're going to have another Canadian, Miss Taya Valkyrie, making her in-ring debut. And then, announced today, we're going to have Two Fists, the current reigning and defending PWG World Champion, Daniel Garcia, versus the 1/3 of the AEW Trios title and 1/2 of the PWG Tag Team Champions, Brody King, in a singles match. So we get PWG versus PWG violence. Okay, this show is coming on at 7 o'clock your time in California. Did those matches, would that make you watch?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Brody King, so I definitely. It's one of those things where, and I say this, it's a bad time slot. Like, and if you want people to tune in, you're gonna have to give them some knockdown, drag out things on a very consistent weekly basis.
Yes, absolutely, and yeah, I think you probably have to do more than you want to do to get that in there, because it's just like. It's people's Friday nights. I go to the movies on Friday night. This week, whether it was on at the right time it is, I'm going to be at Shazam Fury of the Gods. That's what I'm going to be doing on Friday night. Right after football is over, right around March Madness time, which is now, for me, it's called movie season. And it lasts from now until football season starts. And I see as many movies as possible. I saw Creed 3 last week. Freaking loved that movie. Thought it was amazing. Then saw another movie. A lesser known movie, because every time I've told anybody about this movie, they've been like, what? I've never heard of it. It's Operation Fortune. It's a Guy Ritchie film starring Jason Statham and Aubrey Plaza. Very fun, just entertaining movie. It was just like, it's the reason I go to the movies. I am an escapism person. I don't go for the movies for art. I don't go to become a better person. I don't go to cry. I go to forget my life for 2 hours and just live in a different world. And I think that's the best thing I can say about Operation Fortune. There's your Floyd movie review of the week. So yeah, AEW Rampage, looking forward to the show. I'll watch it Saturday morning because, I'll be doing other stuff Friday night. News and notes of the week. Already did the third hour for AEW. The AEW Canada tour, including Forbidden Door, was announced. AEW announces massive 6-show summer Canadian tour. This was a press release on Sunday, June 25th. Live from Scotiabank Center in Toronto. Ontario, Canada will be Forbidden Door, marking the second iteration of this event that pits the best and brightest from AEW and New Japan. So the tickets go on sale next week, March 24th. So they go on sale March 23rd. If you know that, you got to get your code to get into the show. I have to get a passport so I can go into Canada. From there, the foray into Canada, got a little caught up there, continues Wednesday, June 28th. We're going to get the AEW Dynamite and then the Rampage taping live from First Ontario Center in Hamilton, Ontario. Then we're going to get July 5th, AEW Dynamite and Rampage live from the Rogers Place in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Wednesday, July 12th, AEW Dynamite from Saskale Center in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Friday, July 14th. I had to say that slow. They're going to get their own Rampage, and that's going to be live from Regina, Saskatchewan. And then Saturday, July 15th, the last show on this tour, AEW House Rules, live from the Saddle Dome as a part of Canada's iconic annual cultural event, a Calgary Stampede in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, the home of the Hearts. Dude, you want to talk about, I've never wanted to go to a house show as much as I want to go to that show. So tickets went on sale. The pre-sale happened today. Shout out to my boys. Got third row tickets. Stephen or Freddie, my friend on Twitter, we've hanged out. He got third row tickets to the Calgary Stampede show. All the rest of the tickets go on sale Friday, March 24th at 10 a.m. Central Time. So everybody go ahead and check it out. Big Canadian tour. What do you think about the Canadian tour, sir?
It's great because this is part of what I know. There's a few people, whether they want to admit it or not, they want AEW to be like that same company it was in 2019. Well, that isn't going to work because AEW, in order to, this is part of growth of everything they do, and they're going into a new territory, if you will, and by doing a tour. And I know for a fact, without even seeing any numbers they're doing, they're going to be very successful with it because, any country that's not America is, wants to consume this type of entertainment, or entertainment in general, but especially like bringing wrestling to their country. And Canada is one of them, and they want to see more, especially, I'm talking about televised events, not just live events. I'm talking about televised events specifically, and they just bring another dynamic, and hopefully right out the gate, they bring in some hot stuff, and I'm excited for Forbidden Door. The last year they had some great matches. There were some limitations. It'll be interesting to see what they do this year, and if they plan on bringing in any new talent. So I'm excited to see it. Unfortunately, I can't make it because it's right around the time of my summer program. And if Tony Khan continues to stick with this date, the last week of June, I will probably always be continuing doing my summer camp during that time. So I will probably never be able to leave the area and go to that event, but it's great to watch on pay-per-view.
I have some friends in Canada, one being Kyle from from Elite POV. My company that I work for, which will name nameless, has a location in Toronto, so I'm going to do my best to try to get them to pay for me to go on the trip. We're going to see how that works out. Probably not, but we're going to see how it works out. Then I have to get a passport, which is the probably most annoying part of the situation, but I'm at least going to buy a ticket. I'm going to see about going. I don't know. Be Floyd going international, and it's like going to Toronto without my wife just feels wrong. But we'll see how this works out. Looking forward to it. Doing shows in Canada. And for all of my friends that happen to live in the Independence, Kansas City area, don't forget about the AEW Slam event put on by, what is it called? AEW Cares? AEW Together. AEW Together. Make sure you check that out. Go play some basketball with your all elite friends. I believe Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks are going to be there. The Gun Club. Satnam Singh, who was actually an NBA player, so I wouldn't challenge him to anything. Isaiah Cassidy, Big Show, Nyla Rose, Sean Dean, Will Hobbs, which, he probably just stare at you and you just give him the ball at that point. And Orange Cassidy, which is the one person I would challenge to one-on-one. Because he probably doesn't care if he wins or loses.
Yeah, I bet when that dude gets a basketball, that dude's draining threes like he's Stephen Curry.
Dude, I had challenged Cash Wheeler to horse. He said he would dominate me. And it was with the quickness and confidence in which he said he would dominate me, made me know that I don't want to play him in basketball. He said, if I play, I would kill you. I was like, dang. He is, I don't know if he's going to be there. I don't even think, they haven't been announced. So But he is from North Carolina, and basketball's kind of a religion there. Just kind of important there. So.
There was that one guy. That one guy, he went to school in North Carolina. I think he turned out kind of good, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Michael Jordan.
Yeah. That's that guy.
Yeah. I'm like, if somebody may have heard of him, may not have. I don't know. I don't do the sports ball that much, but I've heard he's pretty good, So, no, just kidding. But yeah, you should go out and support it. Go to AEWtogether.com. Even if you can't go, it's just a good cause. Buy a ticket. Damn it. Even if you can't go, buy a ticket. Support the crew. It's just like it's basically donating to a good cause, which is for the William Chrisman Bears basketball team. So go ahead and get some of that stuff done. I don't think I can. I'm 99% sure I can't make it. I have, unfortunately, this thing called a job, and it gets in the way of leisure activities sometimes. So, I don't think I'll be able to make it. But to everybody there, go out, have a good time, have fun. That's it. I think that's all. I think we came back. Man, thank you, JR. We are back. I am hoping to be back to being a weekly show. Like I said, this is a very busy time of the year for Austin, but we might have a special surprise for you next week. I don't want to say it because I want to make sure timing, but I think we're going to have a special guest on the next show, and he is one of my dear good friends that every time I go to AEW pay-per-view, he's there. I actually met him in the line of Cody Rhodes at All Out during the pandemic. They did that one in Jacksonville. Yeah, so I look forward to it when I'm going to announce it on the page as soon as we're 100% confirmed. But JR, thank you again for being on the show. You are clutch. I know you did not get a lot of sleep last night, so you're probably tired as hell, but you still, anytime I ask you on the show, you step up. So I appreciate you.
Well, it's always fun getting a chance to talk about the show with you and share my thoughts to anybody that's willing to listen to me talk. And so, I have a lot of love for ATE, and I'm in semi-retirement, but I'm like Terry Funk, man. I'm retired, and then just something happens, and I gotta go do a shot, then I'll go back to retirement again.
All right. Well, yes, we're gonna do everything we can in my power, to be a weekly episoded podcast, which has been my goal since the very beginning. I went like a long time without missing a show, and then it just feels like everything has happened. Life has happened. Life gets in my way, but we will be back to being a weekly episodic podcast. Please bear with us. Please love us. Please keep listening. Keep sharing, because we are the longest, the reigning, defending, undisputed king of AEW podcasts. Podcast. I said podcast, but I meant AEW podcast. So we are the one. Everybody else is the twos. I'm using so much WWE stuff. But JR, thank you again for coming. Thank you all for listening, whether you listen a second, a minute, an hour, whatever you listen. We appreciate you coming in. Even if you just download it and don't even know what we sound like, we still appreciate you. So I will leave you like I always leave you, whether it is home, work, or school. Always do your best to be elite.